Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Singha. Let's now take a look at headlines.
Interim report on the draft of a new constitution presented to Parliament. Fisticuffs at the Melladigiriya Pradeshya Sabha. Two new non-cabinet ministers and a deputy minister take oaths. Sri Lanka winless after New Zealand's dominant win in one-off T20I.
The expert report on constitution proposals was tabled in Parliament by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe when the Constitutional Assembly met today.
Parliament convened as the Constitutional Assembly this morning to formulate a new constitution. A steering committee and 6 subcommittees were appointed to prepare a draft constitution. The Prime Minister presented the report prepared by the panel of experts for the steering committee, which is based on the interim report, 6 subcommittee reports and representations made by political parties on drafting a new constitution. Suri Ratnapala, Austin Pulle, A.M. Navaratna Bandara, Selva Kumaran, Kumita Gunaratna, Kapila Pereira, Suren Fernando, Hiran Ankatel, Ashoka Gunawardena and Chamindri Saparamadu were appointed to the panel of experts. According to this document, the legislature has been divided into two, the Parliament and the Second Chamber. 233 MPs with a 5-year term will be elected to Parliament, while the Second Chamber will comprise of 55 members. 140 MPs will be directly elected from electorates, while provincial councils will receive the power to select 76 MPs. The report will see the abolishing of the executive presidency, and the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, will be accountable to Parliament. According to the report, Parliament will have the power to appoint the President, and the President will be appointed with no less than 1/2 of the total number of members of Parliament and the Second Chamber. The document adds that the President can be taken to court over matters pertaining to fundamental rights and writ petitions. The President appointed by Parliament will have a 5-year term, while a cabinet which is collectively responsible to Parliament should be appointed. According to the opinion of the President, the MP who has the trust of a majority in Parliament should be appointed as the Prime Minister. If a political party wins a majority of seats in Parliament and a Prime Ministerial candidate has been named while the party was facing the elections, there is no requirement to look into the opinion of a majority in Parliament. The Prime Minister can hold office until the next election is held and a new Prime Minister is appointed. The number of cabinet ministers should not exceed 30, and the Prime Minister will function as the head of the cabinet. The Prime Minister is vested with the power to assign the number of ministries to ministers and subjects to the cabinet ministers. The report also refers to certain provisions for referendums at a provincial level. The document includes many other points and also documents submitted by political parties and the panel of experts.
This council will decide on future plans after the report is produced. From now on, the council can decide on what our next step should be. There is nothing which divides the country and nothing which destroys the religion.
Is it a report of the steering committee or a separate experts report?
As per the political committee, we have a duty to submit the report to council from the experts which have been provided by the steering committee.
We don't know what it is when it is given today. We need more days to study this. Now we have a question on the legitimacy of Parliament. Currently, there are more empty seats in your side. So have a doubt whether the government supports this.
Finally, if the council agrees, we can present a bill with support of 2/3. If not, we have a chance to get support. We have presented all these proposals.
Then a steering committee shouldn't have been appointed.
Why did we arrange a steering committee? We held a debate after giving reports. We can have another debate after this.
We got it this morning. First of all, we need to study the report in order to debate.
Yes, we have it in a week or 2. Even your MPs were present. Now what your question is that you can't point out that there is documents which divide the country.
It is not what we said, even the president said that. So please don't fool the parliament and the public.
The Prime Minister deceived the Parliament that evening by promising our group to change the electoral system. I agree to that. We cannot create racial hate. I agree to that as well. So I propose to hold the debate in the Constitutional Council.
For upcoming elections, the UNP can bring their proposals and we will bring ours, then we can face the people's mandate.
Those who criticize and spread false rumors against the constitution are also part of the steering committee on constitutional reforms. Banduna Guruvardhana leads the subcommittee of finance. The steering committee must submit a report and a draft of the constitution. However, no such thing has taken place. The committee members have not even agreed to form such a draft. The committee has failed to agree on matters regarding the executive presidency, the voting system, or a proposal for the devolution of power. However, the steering committee has been appointed through the Constitutional Council and therefore the steering committee must report to the Constitutional Council. A vote by the Constitutional Council will take place in Parliament once the final draft is presented. 2/3 must be obtained for the draft to be approved. If 2/3 approval is not obtained, the steering committee, subcommittees and the Constitutional Council will freeze. It's a shame how these leaders are visiting temples and spreading news, saying a federal system is being formed. He was the president for 10 years. Disregard everything said by those around him. But how can a former president make such a statement that a federal system is being formed? Speaker, how can a new constitution be formed when there is no consensus to even form or present a draft?
It is true that I served as the head of the subcommittee on finance and the relevant report was presented in Parliament. However, this report which was presented included facts which were never proposed by us.
Namal Rajapaksa and myself were a part of the subcommittee on law and order. However, the report we presented did not include any of our proposals.
There is a watermark in the English copy stating draft for discussion only. However, the Sinhalese and the Tamil copies do not have such a mark. We want to know the reason for this. I agree with what was told by Namal Rajapaksa. Dear Deputy Speaker, the watermark cannot be limited to only one language.
The United National Party, which is one of the main political parties, has not expressed their stance on this matter. They have avoided this. They have slipped away. They have caught people like Rauf Hakim and are now presenting various proposals. But there is no proposal from the UNP for this constitution. So how can the constitution be drafted? This is only being used for a political game of the United National Party. We have fearlessly said that the executive presidency should be continued. Nimal Siripala de Silva is making a serious allegation that there is no proposal made by the UNP in this draft. That cannot be. Take any page that you turn to. 29. DM Swabinathan from the UNP, leader of the UNP, Ranil Wickremesinghe. Please don't speak irresponsibly like this. Myself and MP Bandula were members. This House removed all arbitrary powers of the executive presidency through the 19th Amendment. We have to go for a referendum if we want to go beyond that. If the executive presidency is abolished while the current proportional representation system for the parliamentary MPs will be left with a situation where MPs are being auctioned for 5 to 6 million every 50 to 60 days. There will be no stable administration in the country. That is why we suggest if the executive presidency is to be abolished, the election system before 77 should be implemented. Then there will be a stable government. As the government in this report by the panel of experts, we have proposed to change the current unitary state. How can the Prime Minister deny this? Here is the first page, the fourth page of the report they presented. They have added a new section as the government. The current unitary state will be abolished by those words. Secondly, on Buddhism, there is a proposal to change Article 9. We will protect the concept of unitary state. For the first time in the history of our country, a Tamil party has agreed to the concept of a unitary state and Buddhism.
A mass group of people calling themselves civil society representatives staged multiple protests opposite media institutions. The protesters were said to be members of organizations such as Women of Sri Lanka and Shining Heart. This group that came to provide advice on how the media should function staged similar protests at various locations, demanding for democracy when Ranil Wickremesinghe and his cabinet were ousted last year. The group calling themselves Women of Sri Lanka staged a demonstration in the pouring rain opposite the Presidential Secretariat on the 28th of November. On the 29th of November, another mass group, known as Shining Heart, staged a demonstration opposite the Presidential Secretariat again. Many people who joined the protest opposite media institutions yesterday were seen at the Satyagraha campaign against the ousting of Ranil Wickremesinghe opposite the Vihara Mahadevi Park. They called off the Satyagraha immediately after Ranil Wickremesinghe was reappointed as Prime Minister. This group staged this demonstration in a backdrop where certain prominent figures branded media institutions as dark media. Who are the forces behind them? Whose agenda are they enacting?
We saw in the past how they purportedly stood for democracy and raised their voice for this. Today, they have come to protest opposite media institutions like Mau Bima, and they acted in a shameless manner. Especially as Buddhist monks, we condemn this action. We would like to warn the leaders of the Cinnamon Pole Army. If this is how they are planning on handling media, we are ready to take the necessary steps at our level.
The
Ranil Wickremesinghe group have started a new program to silence media, to cover up allegations of malpractices against them, and to consolidate power. Now I wonder where the white men and white women who were struggling in the recent past. We saw what happened yesterday. Freedom of media was blatantly destroyed. They are trying to bend the law and govern the country. The general public should decide as to if they should allow this dirty government to continue. As a politician who respects democracy and the freedom of media, and a public representative and a public servant, I not only condemn this protest, but I would also like to interpret such actions as disgraceful and shameful actions. We saw how the Prime Minister looked directly at the media and issued a threat when he was making a speech in Parliament after he was reappointed as the Prime Minister. He asked heads of media institutions to get their checkbooks ready to make payments. That was a start. After that, we saw MPs like Bimal Ratnayaka representing the JVP making certain statements on the media. The group of people who protested yesterday are the people who have been slinging mud in the recent past on social media and destroying this media culture in the country. We will not tolerate threats or intimidations against media institutions. That was our stance in the past as well. Previously, when Sirasa was being burnt and bombed, we were against it. When Siyata was being attacked, we were against it. And when journalists, both Sinhalese and Tamil, were being murdered in the country, we stood against it. We were against them being abducted. So this cannot be allowed to happen. A proper investigation should be held regarding this matter. I condemn the protest against Shakti, Sirasa and Mau Bima media institutions. They began with tensions opposite Lake House, and then they staged protests opposite other media institutions. If a media institution had published something that their group did not agree with, they should have complained to the Press Council, otherwise they should have taken legal action against this. We condemn these actions against the media, and we do not approve of such actions.
Meanwhile, senior journalist Jeshri Ranga, issuing a media release, stated that he condemns the actions of this mass group who call themselves civil society representatives. He questions as to where this group was when the media were fearlessly facing many challenges to establish the people's right to information. He also questions as to why these purported civil organizations took this long to demand for the murderers of journalists like Lasantha Wickrematunge, T. Shivaram, M. Nimalarajan and I. Nadeshan to be brought before the law.
In more local news, Residents of Suryawava Hambantota staged a protest today. They were protesting against the failure to make amendments to the houses and were damaged due to the construction of the Matara-Kataragama Expressway.
201 houses in the Suryawava 550 Yaya area in Hambantota were damaged due to the use of dynamite in the area. Residents alleged that dynamite was used at a number of areas during the construction of the expressway. When the rock was broken within 2 months, my house was completely cracked. After breaking the stone, they got me a boarding house and asked me to stay there until they repair my house. I have been living in this boarding house for a year now. About 250 families live here, cornered and helpless. The residents took to the streets today to demand for a solution to this issue. The protesters obstructed the Suryawava 550 area road. Actors and actresses are staging demonstrations in front of media institutions. We ask that they intervene in our problems as well and help us find a solution. Under the project, construction is also being carried out in Meddeniya Hungama in Hambantota, and the general public here too have been affected by this. Residents of Meddeniya said the roads in the area are constantly blocked by lorries transporting sand for the project.
From the day they started this highway project, we only ask for the safety of our children. Tippers have blocked the road here. Our children have no place to board a bus. We informed the officials at the RDA and spoke to the officials here. They did not offer us an alternative.
The protesters dispersed after the police promised a solution to the matter within 2 days.
A heated argument took place between two members of the Madirgitiya Pradeshya Sabha today.
During the previous local government elections, 14 MPs from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, 9 MPs from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and 8 MPs from the United National Party were elected to the Madirgitiya Pradeshya Sabha. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party took steps to establish power within the respective council. However, during today's meeting, members of the SLFP inquired the chairman as to whether they will remain with the UNP, taking into consideration the political changes that took place in the country. Following the heated argument, the chairman of the Pradeshya Sabha left the premises. Shortly after, the chairman returned to his seat. However, he left the premises once again, criticizing the members of the SLFP.
Two new non-cabinet ministers and a deputy minister were sworn in before President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
Ravindra Samaravira was sworn in as the new non-cabinet minister of Labour and Labour Relations. V. Radhakrishnan was sworn in as non-cabinet minister of Special Area Development. Abdullah Maharoof was sworn in as the new deputy minister of Ports and Shipping. There was an amendment to the ministerial portfolio of Daya Gamage, who was the Minister of Labour and Trade Union Relations and Social Empowerment. As per the amendment, he has been awarded the Ministry of Social Empowerment.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Minister Sajith Premadasa, laid the foundation stone for 4 new villages that will be constructed under the Samata Semana Yali Pibidena Uda Gammana program.
The 4 villages that will be constructed in the Naigala area will be named Lasantha Wickramatunga Memorial Village, Upali Tennakon Village, Keetnoya Village and Poddala Jayantha Village. 28 houses are to be constructed at the Lasantha Wickramatunga Memorial Village, which will be a village for state sector employees. There will be 25 houses each in the Upali Tennakon Village and Keetnoya Village, while the Poddala Jayantha Village will have 24 houses. Ownership deeds were also presented by the minister today. These 4 villages will be a sign of respect to the journalists who made sacrifices for media freedom and media rights. These villages are being built in Veerakatiya within close proximity to the Madamulana Walauwa. There should be media in a democratic country. It should not be mere media. The media should be free. Then the country will automatically become democratic. The democracy will be strong. Lasantha Wickramatunga was murdered for speaking the truth. The political groups that carried out these heinous crimes are now seated in the opposition and are speaking as if they've attained a higher mental state and are saying that the country needs to be protected.
High Court Judge Bikum Kaluarachi informed court he would rescue himself from the bench on the case filed against 4 defendants, including Tiran Alas, due to personal reasons.
The case was filed against Tiran Alas and 3 others under several indictments for alleged transactions carried out at the Reconstruction and Development Agency, or RADA. An order was issued for the court case to be taken up before Colombo High Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachchi. The case will be heard on the 29th of January.
One of the proud products of Siddhalepa Group of Companies, Supiriviki Toothpaste, was recently bestowed with an honor at an innovative award ceremony held in China. The award was a highlight at the 85th anniversary celebrations of Siddhalepa, which was graced by Health Minister Rajitha Senaratne recently.
Deshabandhu Dr. Victor Hettigoda, the chairman of the Siddhalepa Group of Industries, was also present for this occasion. Enterprise Asia, the leading non-governmental organization for entrepreneurship in Asia, bestowed recognition on Sri Lanka's homegrown household staple, Supiriviki, at their recently conducted International Innovation Awards for the year 2018. There is a special class that contributed to this. It is because of the valiant efforts of our staff and the research and development staff that we have been able to reach this target. Supiriviki was introduced as the first non-white toothpaste that was produced with the use of traditional medical plants in 1988. I would like to say that teeth was a big problem in the country, so I thought hard and produced a herbal toothpaste. This herbal toothpaste has a good market now. It is extremely good for people's teeth. We have used material like ash, nelli and goraka. Therefore, I can fearlessly say that Supiriviki is an extremely healthy toothpaste.
The Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Akira Sugiyama, visited the Mahanayaka Theros in Kandy today, following which he answered questions in connection with the Central Expressway project. The ambassador was asked as to how many billions was donated.
This is actually not the donation. This is private-oriented projects. And so the Japanese company participated in the tender, and we got one of the sections in the Central Highway. So no government money is there. It's a private-oriented. But of course, Japanese government is paying very close attention to the implementation of this project, and Japanese government and Japanese companies, and as well as the Sri Lankan government, in very close cooperation in implementing this project.
Team Newsfirst reported on the departure of due process in the matter of Section 3 of the Central Expressway project. It was pointed out a loan totaling $1 billion or 1,850 billion rupees was being negotiated with a Japanese commercial bank. It was also pointed out that since this was not a government-to-government project without any form of soft funding, it was necessary to adhere to national procurement guidelines. The minister in charge of highways at the time sought to downplay the real nature of the funding and attempted to portray this as a project being funded by the Japanese government. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe maintained a similar stance. Team News First notes that finally the representative of the government of Japan in Sri Lanka himself has confirmed that this is a straightforward commercial loan.
Speaking exclusively to News First, Kamsi Gunaratnam, the Deputy Mayor of Oslo, spoke about the services provided by the local government bodies in Sri Lanka.
You toured 3 municipal councils, Colombo, Jaffna and Batticaloa. You met the mayors in these councils. What is different from these councils you see here and what you see there? What is the good that you see here and where can we develop?
I do not know whether what I say will be misunderstood. There are many problems in Jaffna. There are many good things that happen as well. The mayor of Batticaloa has taken a step ahead and is creating a safe city for women. A city built for women can be suitable for men, but a city built for men will not be suitable for women. Colombo can be identified as a multicultural city like Oslo. There are differences among these 3 cities. If you look at Sri Lanka in general, we can question as to whether we have basic problems. I met 3 different mayors. I believe that in the future they will take action.
So, நான் நம்புறேன் நான் சந்திச்ச 3 வித்தியாசமான மேயர்ஸ் அவங்கள் இன்னும் இதுக்கு மேல நடவடிக்கைகள் எடுப்பினோம்.
Speaking to News First, she told us why she joined Norway in politics and that women should raise their voice and take up leadership.
Growing in a Europe which was still beginning to appreciate this diversity, how did you find the opportunities? How did you end up in politics?
Well, it had a lot to do with the fact that I come from a part in Oslo where the multiculturalism is like enriched with over 200 nationalities. Right. At the same time, there are areas in Oslo who hasn't the same diversity. It's so important to remember that those are not bad people, it's just the system. So if the system is wrong, the system can be changed. And that's what I want to do. When I was finishing my senior high school, I entered politics.
Right. But still, a lot of the reports coming out of these political bodies are that women don't raise their voice enough. They don't take the leadership yet. Do you think that is something ingrained in these women? And is that why you see them kind of on the back foot a little bit?
You know, I had the same questions from all over the place, from the men especially, and they're like, we have this quota system, 25%, but we still can't recruit women. It's because we raise our daughters and our sons different ways. So I think that this is about upbringing. This is about treating the female and male students equally. This is a feedback I got from a lot of women. It's the cultural obstacles. It's a cultural thing that maybe you shouldn't go into politics. Yeah. And I would say that maybe we need to change that socially.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jayat Singha. Good night. Take care.